On September 26th of 2019, a young man was at home watching his little sister while his mother was at work. All of a sudden, an intruder broke in, and that young man got into a fight to protect his little sister, but unfortunately, he lost his life in the process. This is the heartbreaking case of Khyler Edman. Hello, friend, and welcome to High Time Crime. My name's Joel, and on here I specialize in true crime and also balancing on a tightrope. This is terrifying. But anyway, today we're going over the case of someone who I would call a hero. His name is Khyler Edman, and he certainly checks all of the boxes to be one. Let's talk about what happened. Our story takes us to an unincorporated community known as Port Charlotte. That basically means it's not officially recognized as a city or town because they don't have a local government. There's about 64,000 people who live there, and it's ranked as one of the best places to live in Florida. Port Charlotte's history is very vast, dating all the way back to around 10,000 BC when woolly mammoth roamed the earth. Nowadays, you probably won't find too many of them around. There's a good amount of things to do in this community, but the most fun things are a bit outside of the area. But inside of the area, inside of a comforting little home, lived a 15-year-old young man named Khyler Edman. Khyler was born on February 2nd of 2004 to Jessica English and Billy Edman. He had a brother named Colton, a sister named Khaleesi, and 6 step-siblings. His parents at some point got divorced or were never married. It's not very clear. Now, there's little information about Khyler, but we do know a few things. According to his family, he was full of life and really enjoyed fishing. He loved going to an amusement park called Zoomers and riding bumper cars and also riding bikes with his friends. Khyler was a huge fan of the outdoors and also the college football team, the Florida Gators. In 2019, he was a sophomore at Charlotte High School and also a member of ROTC, which is the Reserve Officer Training Corps. They help you get through college on the basis that after you graduate, you become an officer in either the United States Army, the Navy, or the Air Force. During this time, like we also mentioned earlier, Khyler had a little sister named Khaleesi. He loved her very, very much and was willing to do anything for her, and this proves true here shortly. Khyler was someone who had his priorities in check, and he knew what he wanted to do. He was on the right path to not only graduate high school, but become a great member of society. Unfortunately, he was never afforded that opportunity because on Thursday, September 26th of 2019, he became a hero. This particular day in Port Charlotte was a hot one, with temperatures reaching a peak of 91 degrees and sunny. Well, Khyler was at his home watching his little sister, Khaleesi, because his mother had to work. It's unclear as to whether or not he had a stepfather, or if his mother had a boyfriend or anything at the time of this. But sometime late into the day, an intruder broke into their home while Khyler and his sister were there. His sister said that a bad guy with a gun broke into the house, and so she hid under her bed while Khyler confronted the man with a kitchen knife. This man told Khyler to put his hands up, but Khyler wasn't just going to let something like this happen. He felt like he needed to protect his little sister because he did. And so immediately, him and this intruder got into a lengthy battle. Khyler stabbed this man multiple times, but sadly, he was overpowered and his knife was taken from him and used against him. Khyler ended up losing his life in the process of making sure that his sister made it out alive. His mother, Jessica, was at work when someone messaged her on Facebook saying that there's someone near her house who looks suspicious. So she checked her home cameras, and they were the kind that you can speak through. And so she yelled out to her children because things just didn't seem right. At first, no one answered, and then all of a sudden, Khaleesi came out running and to the camera. She said that Khyler was dead and needed an ambulance, and immediately Jessica's heart sank and she left work. When she got there, she found Khyler on the living room floor, and at that point, she started screaming and crying as any mother would. Deputies were already in the area searching for a suspect from a completely different 911 call when they started to hear Jessica scream. Right away, they rushed to her assistance, only to find out that her 15-year-old son had just been murdered. And so this left a very sad question. Who murdered Khyler? Well, like I just said a moment ago, the police were already searching for a suspect from a different 911 call. And as it just so happens to turn out, this same person was the person responsible for what happened to Khyler. The first call came from someone who said that they saw a man walking down the street covered in blood and carrying a knife. The next call came from a neighbor not too far away from where Khyler lived, and his name was Chris Heinrichs. Chris was at his home on September 26th of 2019 when he was about to take a shower. He looked out of his window and saw a random man on his patio covered in blood. Chris then put his clothes back on and went outside to confront this man, but he wasn't there. The patio door was open, however, and so Chris went inside and started looking for him. He could hear him talking to himself somewhere, but couldn't see him. Eventually, Chris went back outside and found this random man. He was soaking wet and bleeding from knife wounds to his hands, arms, and abdomen, and he was kneeling down trying to put a kid-sized boxing glove on his right hand. Chris asked the man what he was doing in his house and why he's got one of his children's toys. This man didn't say anything, and so Chris said he's calling the police. The man then turned and looked at Chris and said, "Please don't." So Chris shut the door and called 911. When police first arrived, they saw the suspect swimming across the canal trying to get away. This was right before he broke into Chris's home. The deputy eventually made his way to the home and arrested this man. Chris was asked to go to the police station to choose the suspect out of a lineup. He said that this man looked to not be in his right mind and as if he was in a hurry. Well, this man, if you can call him that, name is Ryan Clayton Cole. Born on December 31st of 1991 in Florida, and his childhood is pretty unknown. According to Facebook, the country him is back, and he seemed to be paranoid about people walking out of the woods. Someone wrote on one of Ryan's posts that something happened with his grandmother that appears to be suspicious. Apparently, his grandmother had a restraining order against him, and she must have died in a weird way, but I'm not too sure. Ryan graduated from Charlotte High School in 2010, the same high school Khyler was attending. After Ryan graduated, I'm not sure what he did for work, if he even did work. Starting in 2011 until 2019, he was arrested 20 times, 5 times in 2019, and he was also on probation. On February 15th of that year, he was arrested for trespassing and resisting arrest without violence. On March 13th, he was arrested and accused of possession of a controlled substance without a prescription. In June, he was arrested twice, the first being on June 11th for trespassing and resisting arrest, and the second time on June 30th for petite larceny or petty theft, meaning he stole something worth not too much. His last arrest before his evil crime was on August 6th, and that was for disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. So basically, you have a guy out literally roaming the streets who has literally been arrested 20 times, and after each arrest, he would just be let out like nothing ever happened. Absolutely ridiculous. But on September 26th of 2019, Ryan said that he met up with a guy at Bayfront Hospital and purchased $40 worth of H&M. Apparently, he had been doing this kind of stuff for the past 10 years, but this time was different, and he blacked out until later in the day when he woke up at the hospital with no recollection of what was going on. I call utter BS. But as of December of 2019, Ryan Clayton Cole was indicted for first-degree murder, first-degree burglary, and burglary of a dwelling. Within about a month or so, the state of Florida would go forward with trying to get him the death penalty. As of August of 2023, Ryan still hasn't went to trial, and it's been almost 4 years. He's not expected to have one until the summer of 2024. And the question here lies, what is taking so long? They have all of the evidence in the world, including video footage, and that doesn't seem like a speedy trial to me. Ryan is an awful, awful person who deserves everything that happens to him. For 0 reasons he did what he did, and it cost an innocent young man his life. He should have stayed in jail, I don't know, after the 3rd arrest, but no, over 20 plus arrests and he was allowed to roam free on the streets. That is so irritating to me. One of Khyler's neighbors, named Sean Kalanda, started to try and get something called Khylers Law passed in Florida that would punish prolific repeat offenders that have 10 or more misdemeanors or greater charges and make sure that they are incarcerated to ensure that senseless murders such as Khylers can be avoided. I wholeheartedly believe that really should be a thing. Sean also started a petition that has 238 signatures right now, but I think that we can get that number a little higher to hopefully help get the law passed because it never was. I'm not sure if it ever was even looked at really, but I hope that it can be. Sean also runs a Facebook page and website for Khylers Law and tends to help keep his memory alive. On the day that Khyler was murdered, Sean had his Ring cameras rolling and has footage of Ryan. Here, you can see him walking down the street looking for a house to rob. Next, a minivan leaves, and within a few moments, Ryan turns around and he starts going towards Khyler's house. As for right now, the world is just waiting for Ryan Clayton Cole to finally be sentenced, and hopefully justice will really be served. Khyler Edman was a young, bright, brave, and courageous young man who did everything he could to protect his little sister while he was the man of the house. He had aspirations of being a soldier, and he died certainly fighting like one. We have to commend him and remember him for what a hero he was. His little sister afterwards still thought he was alive because she was 5 years old and didn't understand what exactly happened. Khyler's family was heartbroken by losing him. They all miss him dearly, and I hope that one day they're able to find some closure. But anyways, thank you for watching this episode of High Time Crime. If true crime is your thing, then please subscribe and hit the like button because that's all we do. Recently, I've started an all-exclusive Patreon, and here you're given the choice of 3 tiers. The last one allows for a Patreon-only video that's uncensored. The third tier and the second tier allow you to have your name put at the end of each High Time Crime video. This is just in case you want to support me a little further. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care, friend.